Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi. TEMURAH of Dalet. We begin on the very top line. Omar Rav Hoshia. So this relates back to the halacha of the chatos shenischapru balei b'acheres. There was an extra chatos unneeded whose owner achieved kapara elsewhere. That chatos has a din of misa. Halacha mishmei Sinai, we let it die. However, hamafresh shtei chatos lachrayis. Suppose it's not that it was lost and forgotten and replaced. Initially, this fellow was super conscientious. So this pretty much connects to yesterday. We had a similar story with 2 piles of money. Here it's 2 animals. Hifresh shtei chatos. He set aside 2 animals, designated them as chatos lachrayis. Why 2? The second one is, as a backup, as a security, to ensure that he brings his chatos and gets his kapara. Okay, so he sets aside 2 chatois simultaneously. Mischaper ba'achas man. He chooses one for kapara. B'chaverta roya. The other one is not going lemisa. This is not called chatos shenischaper bala. This is just an extra chatos. Initially, one was going to be extra. So this has the status of moisar. Leftover, extra. And in this case, there's no misa. Raya. You send it out to pasture until it's blemished. You sell it, and the money you send to the Beis HaMikdash into the Nadava, coffer for Oilois Tzibur. I'll leave them on. Whose shita are we following? Whose opinion are we aligned with? Ilim I'll leave with the Rabbanon. Are you going with the Rabbanon of yesterday? Hashta mafresh li'ibud. Amri Rabbanon lav kibud dami. Impossible, because the Rabbanon, to begin with, have a more limited approach, a more limited scope to the halacha of Misa. Even a mafresh li'ibud. Say he had 1 chatas that disappeared on him, and he got another one instead. That second one will never have Misa, even though it's mafresh li'ibud, it was set up as a replacement for the lost one. It doesn't get the same status as the lost one. Lav kibud dami. So there's no misa there. Lachrayis midbayis. Certainly in our case, where initially there were 2 to begin with. None was lost. There was no lost and replaced. So of course, this extra one will not have misa. El alibud Rabbi Shimon. Must be that we're going like Rabbi Shimon now. Well, according to Rabbi Shimon, it's untrue. Amar Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon already told us. Chamesh chatos meisas. All 5 have misa. Meaning there's no concept of an extra chatas being sent out to pasture. If it's extra, if it's left over, it goes lemisa. Even in the case of achrayis. El alibud Rebbe. Must be going according to Rebbe's opinion, back in the Mishnah of Chav Beis. And the point was, even though Rebbe has a broader application to Misa by Chatos HaMeisos, Kiyama Rebbe v'ibud. Rebbe only applies Misa when the Chatos gets lost and there's recovery, and then, so that goes L'Misa v'l'achrayis loy, but if it's just to begin with, an overlapping one, in that case there's no Misa. Aval b'achrayis loy. It's not. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah back on the Chav Beis. At the end of the Mishnah, we have a halacha. Hamafish chatas. So he has a chatas. Very balasmum discovers to have a blemish. Moichro, maybe acheres tachtea. So you sell it straight out and you buy another one instead. Okay, so the blemished one was sold to Ruvain. And now the owner, let's call him Shimon, has an unblemished animal which he now rebought, and that's going to be his chatas. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, got to be careful. Because essentially, the one that was sold to Ruvain is considered a rejected chatos, even though it was blemished and you sold it. But the fact is, it now has a counterpart, the new animal. So you have to be careful that you attend to the blemished one, you shechta, before you proceed with the kapara of the substitute, because otherwise, that first one is in trouble. In fact, if you process the second one before you shechted the first one, Thomas Misa gets applied to that. Because this also falls under the category of chatos sheneschapru balei b'acheres, a chatos whose owner proceeded and got kapara through its substitute. Now, kasakadaitach is a big chiddush. Even though it has a mum and you sold it, it still retains some residual identity as a chatas, as a replaced chatas, and you have to treat it accordingly. Kasakadaitach. The more at this point figures. The Rabbi Eliezer, the Rabbi Lazar, the Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon that we just mentioned, Kirebi Svirli. In terms of the general application to the halachas of chatos hamesa, he'll go like Rebbe, that we alluded to a minute ago. Afilu b'achrayis namiloi. And in this case, where there was no animal lost, still, theoretically, there could be misa on that animal that was replaced. So what does that tell us? That tells us that even if there was no lost animal, even if it's just, let's say, achrayus, if initially he had set aside 2 animals, nobody got lost. There's no avod. Nevertheless, the unneeded one gets misa. So we're comparing the 2 cases. We seem to see that according to Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, we have a very broad application to misa on the unneeded chatas. Because we see in his case, where there was nobody lost. You got a chatas, I got a blemish. That's all. It was here. I got a blemish. So he sold it. Theoretically, misa can apply to that too if he doesn't do it in time. Meaning he's makar the substitute before. So we see that even when there's no loss factor, there's no disappearance, it still can have misa. Likewise, we assume by achrayis as well. If initially he designated 2 animals and one is not needed, misa will apply. Says no. Maybe he's not going like Rebbe. Tilma Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Kavu Asfirli. Maybe the reason why he's so strict is because he's going like his father, Rabbi Shimon, who takes a very strict approach to the idea of misa. The Amar Chamesh Chatois Meis, he says that there's no such a thing as a chatas being sent out to, got a blemish. There's no recourse. Unneeded chatas has misa under all circumstances, including achrayis, which we already established before. It's not a chiddush. However, according to Rebbe, and certainly according to the Chachamim, if it's shtei chatois lachrayis, so none was rejected. Initially, he had an extra one. He expected it to be extra. That is not considered chatas hamesa. Rather, that's moiser chatas, which ends up at din adava. Tonight. Okay, let's take another look at that Mishnah Maseches Yuma, which we spoke about yesterday. We have the pair of goats, right? One is a Sa'ar LaHashem, a Chatas, one is LaAzazel, thrown off the cliff. So it happens that the LaAzazel died. So now the Sa'ar LaHashem lost his partner. We have to bring another 2 goats, make the lottery anew, designate one LaHashem, one LaAzazel. Now what about the extra LaHashem? There's no Misa, even though it's an extra Chatas, because it's a public Chatas. No Misa. V'shein Chatas tzibur meis. Let's infer from there Hadi Yachad Mesa, but if it would be privately owned in this type of configuration, it would be Misa. Knowing that, let's further explore. Which one are we using? The Lashem of the first pair who lost his partner, or the Lashem of the second pair, leaving the first Lashem as behind. V'amar Rav further explains, Balechayim einan nedachan. An animal does not get rejected from use, meaning Shumas Chaper, so then which one will he use for kapara? B'shenish b'zug rishon mischaper is going to use the second one of the first pair, even though, despite the death of his partner, he doesn't get rejected and disabled. You can use him. So which one is the extra one? So now the extra one is the Sar LaHashem from the new pair which he knew initially. It's not going anywhere. It's sort of just as a backup. So it has the same status as Achrayis. Uktani Diachad Meis, and the Mishnah tells us that, the only reason why it's spared because it's a tzibur, but if it would belong to a private person, it would be misa. Apparently, even by achrayas, we say misa. It's a kasha of Hoshi who says there's no misa of achrayas. Says the Gemara, Rav Latamei. Rav, who just gave us this explanation in the Mishnah there, Latamei follows his own opinion, the Amar who says elsewhere, mitzvah barishon. Ideally, you should use the first one that was here. So you have a choice. You have a choice of whether to use the Lashem of the original pair or move on to the Lashem of the new pair. Use the first one. That's the first one that was here. In which case, as Rashi explains, turns out that really the new Lashem was written off from the get-go. You knew it wasn't going anywhere. It's not like you have two equal choices and now one is going to be used, one is just a leftover lachrais. No, you knew good and well that when you're going to introduce the new pair of goats, one is Lashem, that's going to be a lost cause because you're going to go to the first one. Mitzvah to use that one. So it's called li'ibud. There's a gersa v'havale kimafish li'ibud. So he's mafish it for loss. V'chala mafish li'ibud kibud dami. So therefore, it's considered like it's rejected, and there's misa. However, in a standard case of achrayis, like we said before, a fellow wants to be extra careful, wants to make sure that he achieves kapara, he sets aside two to begin with. Each one being equally qualified. Two, equal chances. They're both suitable candidates. In this case, he takes one, and the other one is nadava. There's no misa there. Tani Rav Simi Bar Zeiri, he presents a brayso kamed Rav Papa, which sounds a bit cryptic. He says like this: of the b'shas hafrasha. So we have this big machlokes that we discussed in great length yesterday and the day before between Rebbe and the Rabban in terms of the specifics of when to apply the halacha of misa by chatas whose owner had achieved kapara elsewhere. According to Rebbe, the issue is even if the chatas was lost at the time of hafrash, when he designates his counterpart, that's already an issue. According to the Chacham, only when he was missing at the time of kapara, when the owner proceeded with kapara with the substitute. So he has a brayso like this. He presented a kamed Rav Papa of the b'shas hafrash. If the chatas was missing during the hafrasha, but was recovered right afterwards, according to Rebbe, the Rebbe Mesa, there's Misa. The Rabbana, no, Tiri, let it pasture, save it. Of the b'shas kapara, if it was lost even when he was in the schaper, that's already too late. The Rabbana Mesa. According to Rabbana, there's Misa. And the Rebbe Roya, according to Rebbe, there's no Misa, there's Roya. So, Rav Papa was wondering, what's going on? How could you say that? Amar lay, the gears of Amar lay. If anything, goes the other way. Even the one that was missing only during the hafrasha, according to Rabban, there's Roya, there's no Misa. Amar Rebbe insists that there's Mesa, he's more strict. Avuda b'shas hafrasha was missing even during the kapara, b'shas kapara. The Rabban Mesa, according to Rabban, even in this case is Misa. Even according to Rabban, in this case is Misa. The Rebbe, the Kolshkan, of course, according to Rebbe, there's Misa. Since Rebbe is more strict than the Rabban, rather you have to revise it as follows. Avuda b'shas hafrasha was only missing during the hafrasha and then recovered. The Rebbe is Mesa, the Rabban is Roya. But if it was missing, even b'shas kapara, the Rakol all agree there's Mesa. Ein margilan b'yamtiv. Rashi explains that there was a very unique method of peeling the skin, flaying the hide off the animal called margilan. You would hang it up from its legs, and then you would sort of peel it off as a complete, uncut, skin, which was used for very specific purposes. Rashi says to make a container, a honey container, or nafachim. It would make it into some sort of blower. The blacksmiths would use it. So it was already a very exclusive type of product, which required great effort. Rather than just slicing the animal through the middle and just peeling the skin that way. So they would attempt to keep it intact. That's called margilan. You don't do it on Yom Tov, even though you shecht on Yom Tov, but you don't do this type of skinning system on Yom Tov, which is obviously more laborious. Likewise, ein margilan b'bechor. You don't do this flaying system by your bechor. So Kohen has a bechor, shechts it. You don't put it through this flaying system, and likewise, v'loi b'psulam mikdashim, you have a regular carbon, they got a mum, you sell it, but you don't flay it this way. Why? I understand not on Yom Tov, because he's putting in extra effort. It takes more work, it takes more effort, and he doesn't really have benefit from it on Yom Tov. So you can't work on Yom Tov for the sake of tomorrow. Ela b'chor. But why not on the b'chor? It belongs to the kohen. It's his to eat. It's his private, material. Montana, who's speaking here? It must be Beis Shammai who say that the Amar b'chor b'kedusha kohen, b'chor retains some element of kedusha even after shechita, so you have to treat it with respect accordingly. TEMURAH, this non, as we have in the Mishnah, Beis Shammai Oimrim, lo yimni Yisrael kohen ala b'chor. So even though the kohen eats the b'chor privately, but Yisrael cannot join the festivities, it's meant only for kohanim. So we see that the b'chor retains an element of kedusha. That's why it's exclusive to the kohanim. And likewise, you can't flay it in this way, which gives that commercial ring to it. Why not over there? Montana, who's speaking there? Rav Chizda, Rabbi Lazar, Reb Shimoni. Rabbi Lazar, Reb Shimon from our Mishnah, who's found to have said that even after shechita, the animal still retains some residual kedusha. You have to treat it honorably and don't, degrade it this way by, commercializing it. The sanya hoylefanav shtei chatois. So you have the case of a fellow having two karbanos chatas, achas tmima v'achas balasmum. One was okay, was tmima, and one was a balasmum. So what happened was the animal became balasmum, so he went ahead and designated another one instead. So what do? You have two in front of you. So nothing went missing, nothing was lost. You have two standing in front of you. Achas tmima achas balasmum. Tmima matikar. The tmima goes up in the mizbeach. Balasmum tipad. The other one you redeem and you sell it off. But don't think you can just disregard the counterpart. The substitute chatas. You have to time it properly. Balasmum. Actually, nizrak damashal tmima. After all, the balasmum is a sort of a rejected. It's a chatas whose owner is achieving kapara elsewhere. So you have to make sure to shecht it before you process the valid chatas, because otherwise, once you process the valid chatas, the other one becomes rejected, becomes chatas sheneschaper balea, and becomes asur to eat. So if they shechted the balasmum before you did the zrika of the tmima, then you're good to go muteres. But if you waited until after processing the tmima, and then only then did you shech the balasmum, then you're in trouble. Mishin Izrak, damashal tmima asur, you can't eat the other one because it's one of the chatos meisais. It's a chatas sheneschaper balea. Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon Amar takes it a step further. Even after shechita, you have to eat it. You have to make sure to eat it before you're maschaper with the substitute. I feel a basar balasmum because even if the basar, the balasmum is sitting in the pot, cooking away, quickly eat it before you process the other one. If you nizrak damashal tmima and you process the blood of the tmima, you have to burn the meat. So clearly, a psula mikdashim, which this is, right? It's a carbon which became blemished, became unfit for hakrava. It still retains some form of its former identity. In which case, it makes sense that you can't go and flay it in this commercial way, which is degrading and dishonorable. Now, why did Rav Chizda have to find Beis Shammai regarding b'chor retaining kedusha, and then Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon regarding retention of kedusha on the psulam mikdashim? Rav Chizda, look, ma'id Beis Shammai. Why couldn't he peg both halachas according to Beis Shammai, just like the b'chor retains kedusha? Let's assume psulam mikdashim as well. Why do you have to go find a different shita? The answer is it's not so simple. One isn't necessarily indicative of the other. Dilmo ki amri Beis Shammai b'chor. Perhaps only by b'chor Beis Shammai maintain kedusha the kedusha semirachem because it has a higher element of kedusha. It's a natural kedusha upon birth. Aval b'sulam mikdash. So that's enduring. A psulam mikdashim, which is an imposed kedusha, it's an applied kedusha. It's the owner making kaddish loy. So maybe that kedusha does not endure as long. Okay, let's go the other way. Since we find that according to Rabbi Lazar Shimon, even by psulam mikdashim, it retains its kedusha all the way through, even post shechita. So perhaps the same with b'chor. Why does he have to go find another shechita by b'chor? Why don't we just assume that Rabbi Shimon applies the same concept to b'chor as well? No, maybe not. Perhaps he only applies this concept to disqualified karbanos, the alimi, because they have an added element of a b'chor limitas pidyon. They're strong enough that their kedusha gets carried over to the pidyon. You redeem it, the money becomes kaddish, so it extends into the pidyon. Perhaps it's kedusha. It's indicative of a stronger, more enduring kedusha. Aval b'b'chor, but a b'chor which doesn't have that element, you can't redeem a b'chor. So perhaps it doesn't have the same, level of endurance. Ask the Gemara. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, he doesn't allow us to skin the animal in a manner which, will get us an expensive, exquisite type of hide, why not? Leslie Hadasnan, doesn't he hold of the Mishnah? Kol Psula Mikdashim, all these disqualified karbanis, try to maximize the income. Nishchatim be'itlis, v'nimkarim be'itlis, v'nishkalim be'litra, you shechtim, you sell them, you weigh them the way you normally would. Why? Alma kivin desharis lay tafi v'zavin. The reason is because if there's potential for a great income, the initial fellow who's redeeming it will bid high, knowing that he'll maximize his investment. So he'll maximize it even more if you allow him to get a good piece of product out of the hide. Why not allow it? After all, it's to the benefit of the hegdish to receive a greater bid. Amar Rav Mori bid Rav Kahana. Ultimately, they're not gaining because Masha Mashpiach Ba'or Pegim B'Basar. Rashi explains, in order to achieve this, perfect skin, you have to chop away at the flesh, right? So basically, you're producing a more high-end skin product, but it's at the expense of lessening the value of the meat by chopping it into chops. And so ultimately, the hegdish there isn't a greater income coming from this animal, sum total, because whatever you gain on the hide, you lose in the buzzer, so it's not going to jack up the bid, and therefore there's no point in doing it. So keep away from doing it, because it's not appropriate. It's commercializing the kodesh here. Bimma Rava Mishmei Rabbi Abin explained, the reason why we avoid flaying in this manner, because it looks like he's working with a carbon. Of course, it's not literally. It's Rashi says, it's already after Misa, but it looks like he's commercializing it. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Abin, Abba Gzereshim Yigadlam Him Adorim Adorim. We have another concern. Not every day do you have a customer for this, special product. You might wait. You might delay shechting this psula mikdashim until you find a customer, a blacksmith or a honey dealer. And by the time that happens, you might end up sharing the carbon, working with it, which is asur. So in order to expedite the system, we say no margilin on psula mikdashim. This way you shecht it expediently and flay it normally. So in a nutshell, we learned a chiddush today that although there's halacha that a chatas which is unneeded goes lemis, a chatas shenischafer b'aleh b'acheres, a chatas whose owner achieved kapar elsewhere. That's only when it was rejected, it got lost, whatever. But if initially he had set apart two animals, just in case, that's not called. There's no misa according to Rebbe, according to Rabbanon, only according to Hashem there is, because he doesn't differentiate. We had a chiddush that we don't do the margil flaying system on Yom Tov on a bachor or psula mikdash. Okay, we turn the page. To a new perek chamishi. Back to bachor. Says the Mishnah, Keitzad marimen ala bachor. So this farmer notices that he's about to have a firstborn kosher animal. And he would have to give it to the kohen. So he figures, what? I have to give it up anyways. May as well utilize it as a carbon for myself. Get direct credit for it. So how does a fellow do that? Ma'arimin. He wants to bypass, he wants to circumvent the bachar process. How does one do that? Keitzad ma'arimin al bachar. How does one sidestep the bachar system? Mevakeres shoysumu beres. So actually you can do it. He has his animal, a first-time birther. Shoysumu beres. He notices that it's expectant. Omer, he declares, Ma shebeme'er shalsu. What's inside this animal? So the unborn animal within it. Im zachar, if it's going to be a male, which basically means that it's going to become a bachar. Right, the firstborn male is a bachar to the kohen. So he says, Im zachar, if in fact it is a male, I want it to be an oilo. And that's what happened. The older zachar, she birthed a male, yukrav oilo. So it turns into a carbon oilo, which goes to his credit. Because, as we're going to see in the Gemara, the bachar status only gets activated upon birth. So since he beat it, he's a step ahead. He declared it as an oila prior to birth, prior to achieving the status of a bechor. So it works. Next, v'ibn nekeva zivchei shlam. He says, well, if it's going to be a nekeva, and the Gemara explains that we're speaking that it was a regular. He had a carbon already. He had a chatos, and he's concerned that if it's going to give birth, we already know that a lot of achatos has misa applied. So he wants to sidestep that issue. He says, if it's going to be a nekeva, I want it to be a shlamim. Nekeva is shlamim. So it works. Yolda nekeva, tikrav shlamim. So if it turns out to be a nekeva, tikrav shlamim, it is offered as a shlamim. Let's say he said both. He said, we covered all the bases. Im zachar, it should be an oila. Im nekeva zivchei shlamim. And it gives birth to both. Both were right. Yolda zachar nekeva. So he has a double carbon. A zachar yukrav oila, and a nekeva will be tikrav shlamim. Let's say it was a double header. Yolda shnei zacharim. So he declared zachar will be an oila, and he has two zacharim. And really, he only pledged one. So what happens? Echad mehem yukrav oila. One is considered his oila, a fulfillment of his pledge. Sheni, the second one, is sort of somewhere in the middle. He's not really obligated to bring it. It's not his pledge. It's an extra one. But after all, it does become kaddish to the extent that it has oila status somewhat, because after all, he didn't specify just one. He said zachar will be an oila. So automatically both get some element of oila kedusha. What do you do with the second one? Vasheni yimachar l'chayav oila. You have to find an oila customer. You put up a sign in the shul. Anybody needs an oila for a discount? Here, you sell it to that person. V'dam of chulin, and the money in your pocket, it's yours. Likewise, in the case where he pledged, nekeva will be a shlam. Yolda shnei nekeves, gave birth to double nekeves. One is his obligation, and one becomes a shlamim for sale. Achas mehem tikarev shlamim. One is his shlamim for a krov. Ashni, and the second one timach will be sold. Lechayev shlamim to a shlamim customer. Me'achul, and the money he keeps. Yolda tumtum adregna. Suppose gives birth to non-male, female animal. It's a tumtum. Gender signs are covered. Adregnas. Merged male and female. What do? Rabban Shimon Leimer. Guess what? There's no kedusha at all. Any kedusha chalalein on these types of animals, no kedusha at all. Amar Yehuda. So the Mishnah speaks about a fellow who sidesteps the bechor system by declaring it a carbon. Is there another system around it? Amar Yehuda, yeah. Mutar lahatal mum bechor. We're going to see in a minute that he's talking nowadays. We don't really have a proper recourse. We don't have a proper application to bechor. As a carbon, so what do? Mutar lahatal mum bechor. One is allowed to inflict a blemish, a mum, to clip the ear, let's say, of the bechor, before it's born. So he catches it before it's born, before it emerges, and now you have a bechor bal mum, which you can just eat, anywhere. It's not. But take a look at the Mishnah, where it seems like making a mum is not really valid. A valid, solution. It's not recommended. Mishnah speaks about, if anything, upgrading it from a bechor to an oila, which is a higher status, that you can do. But to downgrade it, to disable it from akrava, you have no permission to do that. So now, look at the Mishnah. He says what's inside the animal should be an oila. Will be an oila. Oila in shlamim loy. Apparently, only an oila works. That's an upgrade, but Mishnah doesn't allow him to declare a shlamim on a bechor, because that's really a downgrade. Rashi explains, a bechor, an oila, is higher up than a bechor. Oila is kolel a mizbeach, completely burned on mizbeach. But to take a bechor and just turn it into a shlamim, which is not really an upgrade, perhaps not much of a downgrade, but it's not an upgrade. But you are losing the bechor status. That you can't do, unless you're upgrading as an oila. And certainly you can't go and make it a balmum, which will completely disable it from akrava. You can't do that. But amrs, right? Oila in shlamim but amrs the matzas mafkas lam k'dusasei. You're suggesting that you can clip the ear and deprive it of its kedusha of hakrava lamizbeach. Amalach Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, I'm talking nowadays. There is no hakrava option in any case. You're right, the Mishnah, which only allows an upgrade. That's when the Beis Hamikdash was standing. I'm talking nowadays. It's not fit for hakrava. Therefore, I advise you to inflict a mum, which will keep its bechor status, but instead of the kohen having to be saddled with holding on to this bechor until it gets a mum, because there's no other recourse. So we try to clip it and make it a balmum, so that when you give it to the kohen, he can just take it and eat it right away. Says the Gemara, Ibazman said, well, if it's nowadays, my memra, then obviously what's there to discuss? Of course, why shouldn't he do it? You're not interfering with any system. Mal the tema, perhaps you would think, Nigzer Dilma Nafik Reiv Roishay. He might not catch it at the right time. While attempting to inflict a mum, he might miss the moment. Most of the head of the animal might emerge, which renders it born, which activates Kedushas Bechor, because Shadi Be Muman, in which case he'll be inflicting a muman, or a valid Bechor, which you can't do. No, so maybe that's really a concern. Still, you're right. I feel still hadi, but this is a better system. Because allowing it to be born as is carries a greater risk of pitfall, because the kohen will have to hold on to it for a long time, and he might mistakenly share it and work with it. So this is a better system. Try to get it disabled. Try to nip it at the bud, so that when it's born, it's already a balmum, so that the kohen could eat it right away. So in the first case, it was a bechor, which he declared to be an oila. That works. And then if it's a nekeva, he says, I want it to be a shlamim. Now, why would he have to donate a nekeva as a shlamim? He's trying to address a potential bechor. Well, guess what? A bechor is only a zachar. If it's going to be a nekeva, it's anyways not going to be a bechor. If nekeva is a shlamim, nekeva mikakacha bechor. Since when is a nekeva going to be kaddish as a bechor? Why is he addressing the nekeva at all? You're right. Sefer Asla Behemah de Hegdish. The next case in the mission is discussing a totally different case, where it was just a regular carbon. So the bechor case was the first case. It's the first timer giving birth. He says if it's going to be a bechor, i.e. a male, I want it to be a olam, taking care of that one. And we have another case, a different case. He has, let's say, a chatas, Rashi says, which is about to give birth. He doesn't want problems. He doesn't want a vlad chatas, which will have misa. So in this case, he says, if it's in a cave, I want it to be a shlamim, that works. Yodo shnei zecharim. Okay, if the animal gives birth to two zecharim, one is the fulfillment of his pledge, and the other one becomes kaddish, you have to sell it. Now, assumingly, we're going on the same case, that it's already, the mother is already kaddish, so it's the offspring of an existing carbon. Obviously, the question was asked, why is the second one going to be an oila? Due to his pledge. If it's the child of an existing carbon, that second animal, which he didn't pledge on directly, should automatically default to the status of the mother. The Vlad of a Hegdish has the same status as the mother. Amri, the question was asked, Ibeim with a Hegdish, if we're talking about an offspring of an existing carbon, Haich da Hegdish, so the one that the one that he pledged, Oila, Bahad Oila should be an Oila, because that's what he pledged. Idach, the other one that he didn't really directly discuss, Nehavi V'Kedusha, the image just default to the Kedusha of the mother, whatever the mother is. Seif asan lebehemas chulin. We're shifting to yet a third case. It's not bechor, it's not a regular kodesh. We're talking about the mother is chulin, a regular animal. And in this case, there is no kedusha of the mother to back onto. It's just being kaddish due to his pledge, and since he pledged an oila without specifying one or two, so both become kaddish. One is the fulfillment of his net, and the other one will be sold to an oila customer. Okay, so in a nutshell, he's expecting a bachar. He can sidestep it by declaring it as an oila. Likewise, if he has a behemoth hegdish giving birth, he can declare it as a oila or shlamim. What if there are two? One becomes a fulfillment of his pledge. The other one will also have the same status as oila, but will be sold to an oila customer, and the money is his to keep. All the best to you, and atzlach.